Hello, hello, and welcome. Have you noticed that marketing and sales has changed a lot over the last few years? Are you feeling like there are things that you've been doing that were working really well and now it's just not aligning? Today is the kickoff of a really powerful interview series, 2025 Sales and Marketing Success. I have gathered some of my best friends who are experts in sales and marketing to help you with understanding what is working in the entrepreneurial world online right now so that you can have sales and marketing success in 2025. Because I know that you've got a really important message to get out there. And while you do what you do really, really well, it's important for other people to find out about it too. So, for you to be a real CEO and leader in your business and understand how to best share your message, this is going to make a massive impact on how you are able to connect with more people out there, get your message out there, and do what you're here to do in the world. So I'm so excited and delighted to welcome our first guest. So, first, a little bit about me, and then we're going to dive in a little bit about our first guest. So, if you're new to my world, my name is Jennifer Lyle. I'm an intuitive business mentor, and I help ambitious entrepreneurs who have these glorious ideas. Maybe you're pivoting to a new area as well. I help you with getting out of the overwhelm and the overthinking so you can actually bring this to life. Help you getting clarity as well as trusting in yourself to bring this massive vision to life. And I do this through my one on one programs as well as group programs. And I love, love, love working, especially with service based entrepreneurs. Now, today we have the amazing Kimberly, and she is so let me just tell you who Kimberly is for me. She is this quiet like a mouse, observing in the background with a ton of wisdom when you say, Kimberly, what's going on in this area? What can I do to fix this? What can I do to approach this? You realize that even though it might not seem like she's doing a lot, she's observing, she's taking everything in, she's like computing everything, and she's able to reflect back to you all of these wonderful opportunities for how you can transform your marketing. And she just does this like automatically. It's like in her DNA. So she has this amazing way with not only with words, but of understanding business models and how to connect to the heart of your ideal client. And she also is really passionate about helping those ambitious entrepreneurs with generating the revenue so that you can get your message out there and make that impact that you're here to make. Did I sum that up right, Kim?
I think that was great. Thank you so much for that introduction. I've never heard anyone kind of put it that way. And yeah, it's all about one of the reasons I got into this audience and into this niche is because I love working with the people who want to make an impact, and by improving their businesses, they get to ripple out the ripple effect, exponentially. So I love being able to get more people to get their message out there so they can build the business that makes the impact that we're all looking to make in the world.
Awesome. I love that. Is there anything that we should know about you? Tell us like two or three things, maybe a couple of things related to your magic and what you do, and maybe one unusual thing that people might not know about you.
Oh, that's a tricky question. All right, so something related to my magic and what I do. I've actually been doing this for over 10 years, so I've got a lot of experience bringing to the table in terms of what has changed, what hasn't changed, what still works, what still doesn't work. I've been trained as a direct response copywriter, which means my background was how to write the words that get people to take action. And now I work with my clients so they can understand how to do it for themselves. I actually have a certification in that. And something that's I've lived in 5 countries.
Oh, that's
And, that brings my ability to translate pretty much anything into words that others will understand. So I've got a lot of practice doing translation work across cultures, across languages, but also simply about, what's complex, what's not easy to understand. It doesn't need to be that complex or uneasy. And I help people understand how it actually makes sense to them, right? I make the words work for them, I think is my rambly answer.
No, I love that, and I didn't know that about you, and I love how that would influence what you do in really keeping things simple.
Hmm.
So, can you share with your wisdom of all the many businesses and many industries that you've witnessed and you've been immersed in, why is it important for business owners to choose carefully when they're choosing their marketing approaches? Because there are so many things that are like, do this, do that. Why do they need to be careful and conscious of how they do their marketing?
That is an excellent question. And it all comes down to what kind of business do you want to build? So it goes to how do you want to live your life? How do you want your business to support that life? And what kind of people do you want to bring in to make the business that builds that life? So oftentimes when I speak with people and when I work with people, they'll start telling me their greatest hits. They're like, "Oh, I've worked with this person and that person and this person and that person in this industry and that industry, and none of it's related." And I'll say, "Great, that's what your past looks like. What do you want your future to look like?" Because marketing is all about what do you want to build, not what have you done in the past. And I think it's a default for most of us to be like, well, somebody told me that this is where the money is, therefore that's what I've gone after. And they're building a business that makes them miserable.
Mm.
And that's no fun, right? That's not any fun for anybody. But also it shows up in a lot of other ways. I was observing to somebody recently that I spent a lot of time on LinkedIn connecting with people, doing networking, and I've seen a rise of people when I invite them to a group networking call. It's like, hey, there's a small group of us. We're all interested in the same things. Let's get together, get to know each other, and see if we can support each other. And the replies I get back are, well, I'm not looking to buy anything right now. And I'm like, okay, well, that was a connection invitation, right? It was an invitation to learn more about you and your business. But there are so many people out there teaching these quote unquote marketing strategies that are essentially used car salesman cold calling.
Mm.
And most of us aren't comfortable with it. We don't like it. And honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't build deep trust relationships. And if you're a service based business owner, if you're a consultant, if you're a coach, you need to have a lot of trust before
Mm.
somebody's going to say yes to working with you. So, using a non trust based marketing approach doesn't actually build the type of clientele that you want to work with. So while you might get those 20 to 30 qualified quote unquote leads sent directly to your calendar, once you have a conversation with them, you realize they're not actually the people you want to work with. So
Right.
when you pick a marketing strategy, it needs to be aligned with the business you want to build, the impact you want to make, and of course, how you want to show up and serve in the world.
So, what are some of the biggest challenges that you witness as you're working with people, as that you're trying to create that marketing plan that fits them and their vision? What are some of the biggest challenges?
Yeah, so some of the biggest challenges are a couple of myths that we've been sold. Number one is if you're not good at it, outsource it. But the problem is that your marketing is your business. Like without great marketing, you don't have a business. It is the core of sharing what you do with other people to bring them in. So if your marketing's not dialed in, then you're not going to have the business that you want to build. So uh, this idea that, well, I can just hire somebody to do my marketing for me and I don't have to do it. But if you don't know what you want, if you don't know what good looks like, if you don't know what your success looks like, you can't hire it out because they need to know those things, right? They don't have a crystal ball, they can't read your mind. And I saw this a lot when I was working as a copywriter, right? Was people would be like, well, you just figure it out. And I'm like, well, what's your end goal here? What do you want out of this copy? I need to know that in order to create it for you. So I think that's one big challenge is this idea that we can hand it off without knowing what it is. You have to know what it is. You can absolutely hand off your marketing. There's a huge chunk of it that you can outsource. But at the end of the day, it's a service-based business. It's your business, and you're the face of it. So you need to be in your marketing, right? That's the other piece is a huge challenge is a lot of people have this perception that I am not the person people want to buy from. I need to be a version of myself. And that's the version people want to buy from. Where the reality is, especially with the rise of so many automated tools and resources, that you being you is actually one of the biggest advantages you have in your marketing. People like you, they like the way you talk, they like the way you show up, they like the way you look at the world. And that's what's going to draw them in. So your marketing needs to reflect that. And so you don't want to become a caricature of yourself in your marketing. You actually want to be authentically you. And many of
Mhm.
us have this idea that, well, I've got to be somebody else to show up and do my marketing the right way.
It's really interesting. A while ago, I saw some research that talked about how in Germany they conducted this experiment where they wanted to know what was the highest frequency of energy out there. And so what they did is they put people in a giant Faraday cage. And for those who don't know what that is, if you can think of like a copper cage that then blocks out any other frequencies so that it won't interfere with the readings that they would get. And they thought that, it might be joy or happiness that would have been the highest frequency, but it was actually authenticity.
Mm.
So I love that that's what you are witnessing and that you are echoing is that your authenticity is like your own energetic imprint in your messaging, in your marketing, because that's how you're going to find the energetic match of your ideal clients that are really, really, really a reflection of who you're being and who you want to work with. Now,
Oh, absolutely. And I find, it's a relief for most of the people I work with. They're like, wait, I get to be me? And I'm like, yeah, you're the only you in the world. Why would anyone else want to buy from a different you? Right? Like,
yeah.
you are what they're looking to buy from at the end of the day. Because all of us who are being found online, right? Our clients have access to the internet, which means any information they want to find, it's a Google search away.
Mhm.
But the person they want to help and guide and take them along the path of implementation, that's you. And that's not available on a Google search.
And I think that this circles back to what you said a moment ago about trust
Mm.
and that people really need to have that level of trust. And I have found that in working with clients that that is one of the biggest challenges that people face is trusting in themselves to
Mm.
know what to say, to know how to express it. And I think that there's this perfect blend of, having somebody that can help you with the formula, but then trusting themselves to say the right words. And then an experiment, right?
Oh yeah, it's an experiment. Marketing is the golden rule of marketing is always be testing. And when I first got my certification as a copywriter, a phrase I came across was, "If all of your funnels are working, you're not testing enough." So it's that idea that if everything is dialed in, then there's opportunity you're probably missing because you can test to see what does and doesn't work. And it's a constantly changing and evolving landscape, right? What you offer, the people you serve, they change, you change, and the world around us changes. So this idea that we can set it and forget it and never look at our marketing again doesn't really work because what happened today is different than the person they were 3 weeks ago. So this idea that you're only going to, dial in exactly what you're talking about, dial in exactly who you want to serve, dial in exactly the messaging you want to give, and then don't touch it for 6 months or 12 months. Well, people have changed in that time, and you have changed in that time. And the outside forces have changed in that time. So you can have stuff evergreen, but then you also want to have stuff that's new.
Hmm. So, how do people overcome some of these challenges then that they're facing as they're choosing their ideal marketing approach?
Yeah, I'd say an easy way to get started is just to have a plan. And that plan does not mean I'm going to go live on Facebook 3 times a week. The plan is, what do I want out of my marketing? Really great marketing is tied into an outcome that you can track. The actual origin of the word direct response copy is I could put something out there and it was trackable to see what it converted at, right? Because
Mhm.
there was like a special code that if people called in and used that code, that meant I knew exactly which ad they saw, for example, right? In the old days, like we're talking early 1920s, 1930s here. But the same idea holds true, right? Set for yourself what your success metric is before you get started, because there's no way to know if you've reached your goal if you don't know what that goal is. So set your success metric, set your goal, and then take a deep dive into who you really want to work with. Before creating any marketing, go beyond the surface level and think about it this way, right? Most of us, if we're service based businesses or if we're coaches, we're looking to serve 10 to 20 clients in a year. We're not looking to serve thousands. If you're looking to serve thousands, this may not be 100% aligned, but it's still fairly aligned. So if you only need 10 to 20 people, which 10 to 20 people do you want?
Mhm.
You don't need hundreds and thousands of people to come into your world. You need the right 10 to 50 to come into your world to move them to becoming clients. So take a moment, take a few minutes, write it out. Like, who is it I really do want to work with? And who is it I don't? And then with that starting point, talk to those people. Find out what they're looking for, find out what their challenges are. Just observe how they're already interacting online and what they're already asking about. And that's your starting point for your messaging.
That's so good because then you are creating the content that feels good for you
Mm-hmm.
and that aligns with your perfect client so that you can generate the revenue with the services that you can provide that can provide the transformation that they're looking for. So,
Absolutely. It's all aligned. And it feels good to know that if your marketing is a valuable tool or resource for your people, they actually want to read it. Right? Like, I'm in the process of moving email systems right now. So I'm sending out a campaign and I'm at about a 50% open rate.
wow.
That means people know who I am. They want to see my stuff. What kind of business can you build if you know every time you put a message out there, 50% of people are going to interact with it?
That's amazing. Are there any other like tips or things that you've been witnessing or interesting insights that you'd like to share for people as they're looking at their 2025 marketing plan? Do you have any other insights you would like to share with them?
Absolutely. So, a couple of things, right? Number one is AI is a great tool. It's not a replacement for your marketing. Okay, there's really great ways to use it to save time, to save energy, to do some initial research. But it's your voice, it's your presence, as Jennifer was talking about, right? It's your energy, it's how you show up that people are going to resonate with. So don't outsource everything to a tool or resource. It's the same type of thing of don't outsource everything to your email system, don't outsource everything to a video system, right? It's another tool. It's a tool in your toolbox, it's not your entire system. And the other piece is consistency is king. So be consistent, but set yourself up for success. So, what I tell most people to do is if you're about to start being consistent, right? You haven't been consistent up till this point, that's fine. Start being consistent, but set yourself up for success. So, create a vault. Get ahead by 3 or 4 weeks before you start putting that marketing out there. That way, you're always ahead and have your dedicated time to create your marketing every single week.
Mm. On that note, I would also add when you create that dedicated time, make sure that you get into the energy of how you feel excited as you're serving your clients, because that will then welcome in the insights and inspiration that aligns with the outcome that you want to create. So if you set aside time and you're like, oh, I've got to do my writing, I got to create my content, and you're dreading it, you're going to be infusing that energy into what you're creating. So you have to get into the excitement of it, of how you feel when you're serving your clients, of the outcomes that you're creating for your clients, how you feel about sharing your message. Like that's the energy you need to be in to really ensure that you're creating content that aligns, and that's a vibrational match for you, the real true you, not the worry, doubt, and fear that kind of kick up as you're growing your business. I just want to add that too.
Absolutely. And one of the things I tell people to do is when you view your marketing as a tool to invite people into your world instead of something you have to do, right? If you change your mindset around marketing, it makes it a lot easier. So if you look at it as what do my people need to know today? What do they need to learn? What are they looking for help with? Oh, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to create a resource for my audience. I'm not going to create a way to pitch them. That's not what you want to be thinking of. But if you think of, how can I help my people today? And that's the question you ask before you sit down to create anything. It's going to be a completely different approach, both in your mindset, your energy, and your ability to do it. When it's, how can I help and serve my people? What do they need to know today? What's the next step they need to take to move along the path?
Yes, that is so delicious and a fun approach that a mentor in the past had shared with me is that, especially if you're inviting people into a particular container or an event, is to think about inviting them to a party. And
Yes,
that's the invitation that energy that you are extending in that invitation. So, on that note, you have an amazing resource to help people with getting going on their marketing. Could you share a little bit more about it?
absolutely. So, as we just talked about, you want to invite people into your world. And what does that really mean? In marketing speak, it means getting more subscribers for your email list. Why? Because when they're on your email list, you have their permission to market to them. I have raised my hand. I've said, you have my permission to show up in my inbox, and I will be searching for your name, right? And so you want to make sure that the process from connecting with a stranger online to turning them into an engaged subscriber is smooth and creates a positive experience throughout the process. So I've actually broken down every piece of the marketing funnel to move someone from stranger to subscriber and given you a 30,000-foot overview outline of what needs to go into each of those marketing pieces. It's called the stranger to subscriber checklist. So at a glance, you can
Right
see
below.
right below here, right? Stranger to subscriber checklist right below here. And as you can see, you guide people from, well, they're a stranger online. They're going to connect with my stuff. What do I need to do then? How do I move them along to saying, yes, I'm giving you permission? And then I'm going to become an engaged subscriber who wants to open your stuff. So I've outlined every piece of marketing you need to have. It's a quick checklist you can give that at a glance look at. And it's a brief framework for each of them so that you can get started right away.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. I'll also share that in the comments or in the description of this video for people to be able to copy and paste that into the URL or click it so that they can go directly to it. And another invitation I have for you is that if you have um, these wonderful resources and you find that you're not taking action, that there's a little something that's internal that's stopping you from taking that next step, I want to invite you to my upcoming Simplify Your Sales and Marketing to Boost Your Revenue workshop that's taking place on January 29th. And we're going to be looking at some of the things that people don't address internally as a leader for what you need to step into in order to bring that big vision to life, in order to be able to express your message in that big, bold way, take those big steps to pitch yourself to be on a bigger stage or to a big podcast or whatever it is that you have aching in your heart, but you've been holding back on. So, this is some of the things that will help the wonderful initiatives like what Kimberly's been sharing with you today work. And so that's on January 29th. And so that's the Simplify Your Sales and Visibility Training to Boost Your Revenue. And I'll also share that in the comments as well. Well,
Awesome. Awesome.
thank you, Kimberly, and thank you for watching today, too. Whether you caught us live or the replay, I really appreciate you. And I want to acknowledge you as someone who is an ambitious leader who has a big message, and you know that you need to do something different for this year in order to really achieve your goals and bring that big vision to life. So here's to you and an amazing 2025. Thanks so much for watching.
Thanks, Jennifer.